my goodness! Holy sh!
Hey folks, welcome back to part 2 of the 76 Bronco. I wouldn't call it a revival so much, maybe as a, what's the word, a resurrection. That might work. Alright, we're going to start out today filming. We're going to make some quick and dirty visual changes to it. Here, run the camera. I'm pretty shocked that all 6 of those bolts came out of there. It's pretty typical for these old rusty Midwest Broncos, the bolts just snap right off. Well, it's not that it's heavy, it's going to be really awkward. Wobbly. Alright, that's much better. Much better. Matter of fact, I think it was, maybe it was Jesus Christ that coined the phrase, "That's what I'm talking about." So the steering wheel that was in it, this is it here, you can see it is in pretty sad shape. Here were my other 2 options I found in the shed. I don't know if this is an actual real steering wheel. Got it at a swap meet, or if it was just some sort of a toy. Either way, it would need, I mean, it feels substantial enough that I think it's a real steering wheel, but it's going to need an adapter made. But I'm probably going to go with this one. I don't know exactly what it's out of, some sort of a 70s truck or car, Ford obviously. But I think, yeah, I'm leaning towards this one. A lot less work to get it on there, and I like this style of steering wheel too. And it even has an intact horn center. But unfortunately, the horn contacts and the turn signal cancel mechanisms are different. But I do have I believe I should have a harness for a late 70s Ford truck down in my parts shed. Maybe the harness that actually goes into the steering column here and engages with the ring on the back side of the wheel. So next time I'm down in the shed, I'll see if I can find that harness, and maybe it'll fit in this column. And you know, not a perfect fit there, but it's still better looking than that raggedy old wheel that was in it. Alright, I've been messing around with the seat here for about an hour. Looks like there's going to be a big change of plans. The seats I already showed you in the last video, they're nice and comfy and they're light, but boy, I just cannot get them low enough. I've took all the brackets off so there's no sliders, and that's as low as I can get it. I can't take all this stuff off because that controls the backrest function. So these seats here, I also had them up in the rafters. They're from a Ford Probe, and they do sit lower, and I do have rails there. The worst thing about them, I can't get them over far enough to be centered with the wheel, which isn't really a deal breaker, but it's not as bad as that video makes it look. But I might be able to do a little whittling on the plastic here, and maybe even take the plastic cover off of this seatbelt reel and get it slid over enough. I might just be able to get rid of that seatbelt reel altogether, because I might have to do something else with the seatbelts anyway, because as rotten as this floor is. So yeah, there's options there, but that's a much better seat. It's a lot lower. That seat was so high that my eyes were just right here, which that in itself isn't that big of a deal, but yeah, for getting the cage on there and without having the cage so high that it's goofily sticking up above the windshield, then But yeah, change of plans is going to go with these seats. I've blathered on about that long enough. I'm going to move on to something else. I'm not going to get them mounted today. I just kind of wanted to come up with a plan. I think the next thing I'm going to tackle is, I think these new wheel cylinders for the rear should be coming any day now. I've got my rear flex line for the rear axle, so I'm going to go ahead and crawl underneath there, pull that flex line, and get all those brake lines and whatnot broke loose just to make sure. Otherwise, yeah, if I have to twist the line off, I can go ahead and get a new one made for when the wheel cylinders arrive. Unfreaking believable. Every brake line I touched back here, I had to twist the damn thing off at some point. Each one running from the flex line to the wheel, and then the one on the other end of the flex line flex line that runs up the frame clear up to the front. Yeah, all three of them. Oh well, that's life here in the Rust Belt. What do we got here? Let's find out, shall we? It is from Tom's Off-Road, formerly known as Tom's Bronco. Randy. Okay, so obviously these are headers. They're stainless steel. Reason I got these, I don't know why, I really like to put headers on a vehicle. I wanted stainless steel, but that wasn't a have to be kind of a thing. Did some shopping around, but the one thing I did want them to be was able to handle a 351 Windsor engine instead of just 302 only. And these are supposed to do that. The stainless steel was an extra bonus. They also had a, what was it? The polished ceramic coating and a version with a black ceramic coating. But I just went with just the basic stainless steel. Let's take a look at them. Welds look pretty good. Not crazy about the ball collector, but it is what it is. What's that flange? Looks to be about, if I could focus it, 3/8 maybe? At least 1/4 inch anyway. Would have been nice if these would have handled the GT40P heads, but they don't. Although this engine isn't a GT40P engine, would have been nice to know that, yeah, I could have got them to clear, but, you know, it is what it is. You always have to make compromises. The collectors here, or the reducers, those get kind of small. Looks like those go down to a 2-inch. Could always, I guess a person wouldn't have to run clear down to the 2-inch here. You could cut it up here a little bit higher. I've done that before. I'm betting these are made in China, which, I don't know, I'd rather buy American, but I've bought Chinese-made stainless steel headers before, and they seem to be pretty damn good quality, oddly enough. As many of you know, working on a vehicle like this, you think you can do it cheaply. I think I'm going to estimate, I haven't kept track, I'm going to estimate I've got maybe $500 in parts in this, and these were, by the time you tacked in the shipping, these were damn near $400, which is a pretty good chunk of change for this. But yeah, I just like having headers on a vehicle for some reason. What do you think? What's wrong with your paw? Got something boogered up on his front right paw. Seems to be walking on it okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to put these away and get to work on some brake lines here today. I don't know who invented this type of brake line, but thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This stuff is so easy to work with. As with other stuff, Yeah, I buy this stuff online too. You can get this for like a third of the price you can buy it in your local parts store. Or around here I found anyway. Okay, so this is the fitting that goes into the flexible brake line. That's the one that twisted off on this. And actually that's okay. You can see a spot about midway down the frame where the line was rusted through anyway. So the whole thing needed to be changed. But anyway, the line is stuck in the fitting. And obviously I need to use that fitting. So what you do is you actually just take a grinder and grind that flush and then just drill it out. Good as new. No damage done. No significant anyway. Got all my fittings out. I get started on the one long line. Yeah, it kind of goes without saying, don't forget to put the nut on first before you flare it. I'm not going to cover how to use this. If you have one of these, you know how to use it. If you don't have one of these, go out and get one. The instructions are right there. I don't need to bore you with it. About the only thing I can add to the instruction that I found is helpful, and this is a tip given to me by a friend. Use a drill bit. Don't put it in a drill. Just hold it in your hand. Hold it in there and spin it like that a few times just to get any burrs from out of the tubing. Not terribly critical with this nice soft stuff, but if you're dealing with a hard steel line, yeah, you want to get that burr out of there. Lay perfect. Gently, don't break it off. Again, don't forget to put the flare nut on. Okay, so got a little tip here for you. This stuff is great to work with, but unfortunately when you clamp it in the flaring tool, sometimes, I don't know if I can get it in there. I have a bad habit of clamping it in there too hard, and it just forms it enough that the nut won't quite go on there all the way. I solved that. Take a pair of pliers, like so, and then it doesn't take a lot. I don't know if the camera's picking up the sound of it as it grinds over that little ridge. almost there. In extreme cases, I've had to go with a grinder and just grind that little ridge off ever so cautiously. But usually, yeah, just the pliers here are enough to do it. There we go. Alright, got all the brake lines done finally. As you saw, there's nothing really that hard about doing it if you got the right tools. It just takes some time. Alright, so after a little further review, here's the plan I've come up with for the seats. I'm going to go ahead and use these. As you can tell, I took the seatbelt reel out completely. I took this cover off, and yeah, trimming that was going to accomplish basically nothing. I would only gain like another 1/4 inch before I actually ran into the seat adjustment rail. So I took this reel out, got the seat where I wanted it. It seems pretty comfortable. And instead of a stock seat belt, I've got found one set of old racing belts out in my shed. Just gonna bolt that there and just use the lap belt for now. I'm really shocked that this bolt actually came out nice and easy. This other one over here did too. I haven't tried the one for the passenger side. I'm going to have to take a little different game plan for the passenger side for now because I've only got one belt. This reel on the passenger side isn't working and I cannot get this bolt out. The Torx head is stripped out due to rust, so I've got another idea that I will show you when I get it done. It's kind of hacked, but it's going to have to do for now until I find another set of racing belts at a swap meet cheap. So those holes that I drilled out there, those are the actual rivet holes that held the original brackets onto these. And there's also some other little bracket here that I ground off. In case you care, here's the passenger side seat, which I haven't cleaned off yet. And I will clean those off. But turns out the rivet holes were right in the center of the rail there. I drilled the rivet and got it out, and then drilled that out to a 3/8 hole. And the bolt head fits perfectly inside that channel, so I won't need to use a wrench on top to hold it. So let's get some holes drilled in the floor, and as you might have noticed, this is an air pump. This has a pump up bladder for the lumbar support, and it also has electric what do you call the side bolsters too. Those don't pump up. I think those are electric motors, but that'll be kind of nice. So it was originally mounted down here on a pouch, but in order to get this thing clear down as low as I could get it, I had to move that. So I just drilled a couple holes in the bottom of the seat pan and zip tied it right there. Should be just fine. Are you kidding me? Right on the edge of the reinforcing channel, would you believe it? How do I manage to do that? Guess I should have been a little more diligent about taking measurements. I got right down in there and caught the edge of the reinforcement. I'm going to drop back a 1/2 inch to here. That should get me into some good area. There's a factory hole right there for the seat mount. I should be able to just build a tab right off the rail. And over there, I probably could do the same thing. Even though the bolts broke off, I could re-drill it and tap it, but I think I should be able to just do the same thing I do with the front. Knock that rivet out, drill that out to 3/8, bolt it right to the floor with a nice big thick washer underneath. My patience is wearing thin here. I've lost my temper a couple times. When I get the seat slid forward, it would get stuck. And yeah, I've run into this before, mounting seats, you know, something gets in a bind or whatnot usually, but, and boy, I just could not muscle that thing back. Pulled it back out. I found here where maybe I've stacked a couple of washers underneath here to make room for the release mechanism in the floor. I thought maybe the washers were kind of, because as you can see, let me grab a washer here and show you. So you can see the washer is not sitting flat on that. So I thought maybe when I was tightening it down, it was, you know, throwing the whole rail into a bind, and that might be part of it. But yeah, once I got the seat out of there, this is what I found. I just didn't have quite enough clearance there, and it was getting, yeah, right here in this hole, whatever was grabbing it would get in that hole, and that was it. It would not go back. Very little bit of a scrape here, so yeah, I'll just add one more washer. I tapped that down with a hammer, both of them, and then I beveled a couple of washers here just to make sure that that track isn't, you know, binding itself sideways. So hopefully all of those solutions will add up to making it slide nice and smooth. All better now. Rage subsiding. Let's give it a try, shall we? Ah, oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Still a little taller than I'd like, but it's going to have to do. Racing belts, good enough for racing, ought to be good enough for street use. I am sick of working on seats for now, but it's dark outside now. It's cooling off a little bit. I told myself I was going to go work on my off-roading mud mower once it got cooler outside, so I'm not going to actually mount the passenger seat, and besides that, it might be getting in my way of something else I'm going to do. But I am going to try to get this bracket off and probably show you a little trick for getting a rusty seat belt bolt out, and then I'll probably go ahead and get the brackets off of the seat itself, and then I'll call it quits for this for tonight and go work on something else. Alright, that's a 3/4 inch nut I welded on there. Not only does welding the nut on there give you something to grab hold of because the inside torques were all rusted away, but welding it on there puts some heat in it, so maybe that'll help break the thread loose too. Alright, right here. Oh, no. It was moving though. Pesky little raccoons over here eating my mulberries. Yummy. So my wheel cylinders finally got here. Let's get this thing back apart, shall we? You don't need special tools to do this. All you really need are, pliers, vice grips, and a screwdriver to get brake shoes on and off. You don't really only need the screwdriver to get it all back together. Some of you might have noticed there's an awful lot of light in here, and if it's not obvious, it's because I've got the body off of the frame. I'm doing these videos, well, not really doing the videos, but I've filmed this one, this particular part with the wheel cylinders because I had to wait so long for them. I went ahead and moved on with part 3, which is I removed the body. And you're just going to have to wait till part 3 to find out why. I wish I could tell you it was because I found a fabulous rust-free body, but that's not the case. But anyway, let's get back after this. Bing! The fluid coming out of it seems pretty nice, but yeah, she's stuck. Both sides. I don't know, maybe I'm just lucky. I've never run into that before. I really wanted to get these done sooner, and I would have went to O'Reilly's, the local O'Reilly's, to get these, but I've had bad experiences in the past. I'm not trying to trash talk O'Reilly's, but I've bought some wheel cylinders there in the past, and they leaked. And I tore them apart, and the casting in there wasn't complete, and they machined it and sent it out, so it wasn't sealing. I'm also not real happy with O'Reilly's U-joints. I don't buy U-joints or wheel cylinders there anymore. Felt like it cross-threaded there for a second. Here's where the screwdriver comes in. Might not be a bad idea to wear safety glasses doing this. So let's investigate the use of this tank. I still don't know what tank I'm going to use, but I have this one. It's plastic, so it shouldn't be rusty in there. And granted, I think the volume on these is only like 11 gallons, but yeah, I've already got it. I'm going to pull the sending unit out and see what kind of condition that's in. Because I'm using that Explorer front dress, there will be no mechanical fuel pump on it. There's no place for it. So I'm going to be running an electric fuel pump. And as you may or may not know, electric fuel pumps were not made to pull fuel. They're made to push it. So I'm kind of thinking, because this is mounted so low, maybe well, it's bound to turn and go down. How far, I don't know. And I'm also interested in trying to figure out how thick these walls are. I might just try to drill a hole in the bottom of the tank and thread a fitting into it. I've done that with plastic tanks before. But yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot depending on how thick the tank is. And if I'm going to end up wheeling this thing, I don't really want that fitting hanging down there. So I don't know. I'll just have to see. Just going to take a little investigation first. And if I do decide to use this, I'll put the tank in the vehicle and see how far that fitting is going to hang down, if I really think it's going to be in danger or not. I've seen worse. Doesn't smell terrible. I can definitely see some crud in there, but based on what I can feel right around here, it doesn't feel terribly thick. Maybe, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch, I guess. The float just crunched there when I tried squeezing it to take it out of the clip. So the float is definitely bad. Alright, so I hooked an ohmmeter to it and tested it out by cycling the float through its travel, and there was no difference. So yeah, something in here is corroded away, not surprisingly. I'll do some pricing, see what a new sending unit or float costs, both, whatever. I'm not ruling the tank out, it's still kind of my front contender. The only other, let's see, my other options are I could pull the rear tank out of my 66, but again, I'm going to have to run an electric fuel pump. So I would rather it actually be gravity feeding out of the bottom of a tank to the fuel pump itself. And that one is not a perfect ideal candidate for that. Another option I have a boat tank out there mounted in a 78 Bronco. It's not going anywhere, so I could pull it out and just mount it on the floor. And it's already set up. It's one of those ones where I did drill a hole in the bottom of it and thread a fitting in the bottom. I could set it in the floor of this Bronco, and it'll gravity, obviously I'll have to drill a hole in the floor to run it through, run the fuel line through, and then it can gravity feed down to the electric fuel pump. Only problem with that one is no sending unit. I don't even know if the fuel gauge in the Bronco itself is going to work, so I don't know. Still juggling around options at this point. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for this video. There's plenty more to do on it, but yeah, as already mentioned, I've got the body pulled off now, and I'm already kind of working on part 3. So thanks for watching. Hope you like what you're seeing, and until next time, find yourself a project and have some fun with it.